As we explore new venture opportunities, we want to introduce the concept of the learning curve to you. When we look at learning curves, fundamentally it is a curve, and it's related to the speed of learning something, and it can be done graphically when you're going through and you're trying to depict the number of times that you have to do something, or the number or the proficiency that you're going to achieve over time. And in that way, we'll look at this by illustration. Graphic curve, it looks something like this, where over time you develop some level of skill. And typically, you can get good at anything. There's a tennis center close by, one of the top tennis centers in the nation. How long does it take of some dedicated training to become a world-class tennis player? What will they tell you?
A few years, maybe.
A few? What's a few?
15.
It's about 15. You need 14 of 15 years of dedicated training, almost daily training, to be a world-class tennis player. When is your physical peak by age for tennis?
30.
Closer to early 20s. Closer to early 20s. Not to say you can't be good older, but when you think about what is the norm, you're 25 or so. Tennis players in their late 20s are over the hill. So if 24, 23, 22 begins to be approaching that peak, you take off 15, when do you need to start this training? 5, 6, 7 years old. So this tennis center here, they try and recruit and market students that are 5, 6, 7 years old. Do they care if you know how to play tennis?
No.
Nope. They'd like you to have some good hand-eye coordination. They'd like you to be relatively quick, and they would like you to be competitive. And if you give me good hand-eye, quick, and competitive, then they argue they can make you a world-class tennis player in 14 years. So when you look at learning curves, some things take a while, depending on how high you want to go. Now, I know people that play golf that never played golf before, took a few lessons, and within 6 months or so, they could go out and play and be competitive with your typical weekend, once a month kind of golfer. But they don't play on TV. So it all depends on, again, what level of mastery that you're thinking about. So when you look at business, how do you get good at business or good at entrepreneurship?
Failures.
Failures is one. What comes before failure?
Experience.
Some level of experience, or, again, our bottom axis, our x-axis here, some element of instruction and practice. And I think some of both is good. It's good to get instruction. I would rather know a little bit about something before somebody just sits me in a car and I've had no training and they say, here are the keys, good luck. It's good to have some level of instruction, but to know how to do it, there's certainly a level of practice and a level of implementing that has to come into play. How else can you get that experience with a startup without founding it yourself?
Joining it.
There's an element of joining. And that's how, at least the majority of the people that I know that get involved in startups initially get involved, is they join a startup. And you get to see and do and be exposed and have some on-the-job training that gives you insights into that market and that industry. And you can do that with a larger firm, but in that mindset, I would think about joining a large firm that is doing something that you would like to do in the future as a startup. So if you want to do something in finance, I probably wouldn't join a company that does marketing. You're going to learn some stuff, but again, the transferability of it into what it is you want to do might be somewhat of a reach. But in that way, again, take some time to build skill. Part of it's based on what you know. Part of it's based on what you're interested in and what you're interested in knowing. A big piece of it is commitment. Do you want an A in this class? Are you sure? What's it take to get an A?
Hard work.
Hard work, dedication, commitment. So how do you evidence that? How do you guarantee that you're going to get an A? What level of effort does it take? High. Well, again, these are all very subjective terms. If your life depended on it, how many hours would you spend out of the next 24 to deliver your paper tomorrow? All of it. And you see students, some students, that are in the library on the weekend, all day, all night, may stay during breaks, during the holiday breaks, to read up and get ready for when classes start. They are committed. The rest of us are interested. What's the difference in being committed and interested?
Interested is like you like something, but committed is like you actually put into action.
Interested is you like it. You would prefer it. It'd be nice to have. But committed means you are making some sacrifices for it, that you are putting some real resources behind it. And that's where, again, you see this element of learning and this element of entrepreneurship, and people talk about these long days. And it's the 12, the 16, the 20-hour, the 24-hour days, depending on who you talk to, because they are committed. Resources is a big piece of that as well. We think it takes money to start a venture. Most people I know that are rich, really rich, don't start companies. Why not? Yep. What do you mean time?
To start up a company, it takes up a lot of time.
Okay.
And I mean, by not you, like your schedule is a lot at the beginning. I guess when you're starting up,
Okay.
you put in a lot more.
So you're saying all the right things. Starting a startup takes time. But why don't the rich folks, at least the ones I know, typically not start companies? Yep.
They already got the money.
You already got the reward. You already have the boats and the cars and the whatever it is that you like. And you're having a good time.
But then, doesn't that mean they're not going for achievement? Like they're not
Correct.
achievement?
Yeah. Need for achievement low. Need for a good time high. So in that way, again, typically rich, and again, I'm using somewhat stereotypes, but super rich, people that have plenty of money, rarely are starting companies. It happens sometimes, but it's typically the folks that don't have much money that are starting companies. They're trying to elevate standard of life. They're trying to have better resources and better access for family and kids. Now, they might need to find some money to start a company. Hard to start a company with no money, but it's not always your own. And we'll talk about what that means, but where that falls into resources is you want to think about, again, what do you know? What do you like? What level of commitment do you have? And, again, what resources do you have, financial and otherwise, to get out and learn some new things? And what you may find is that there are competitors that exist to some extent that may know more. They might have some expertise, they might have some experience. If you look at Electronic Arts, a video game company, go to their job board, see what type of people they're hiring, and they're hiring PhDs in physics, people that are world-renowned for optics. Why do I need that to make video games?
Well, for the physics part, they want to try and make it as realistic as possible.
Because they're trying to make virtual reality, high simulation experiences, and there's a lot of physics in how that looks, and how the depths look, and reflections and shadows and things of that nature. Not an easy thing to do. The expensive video games these days cost what blockbuster movies cost. Not uncommon to have a $100 million video game. $100 million spent in design, development, and marketing. And I think it was Grand Theft Auto 4 that was the first $100 million video game. So where did people enter? Hard to compete against the platforms and $100 million games as startups. Where do startups enter that space?
Maybe accessories for.
Can be accessories, physical accessories. What if you want to make games? Yep.
There's some indie developers out there.
Okay.
They don't really make the same level of sophistication.
They're not making the same level of sophistication. Not a lot of them are making PlayStation, Xbox. What are they doing?
There's this new game system
Okay.
that was created that
Yep.
takes the indie games and puts them all for free. And
Yep. So there are some new console providers that are coming out at low cost. I think it's $100 or less than that.
They could be developing games like on game websites.
Okay. There you're seeing more people do things on PC, internet-based and/or mobile. A lot cheaper, a lot easier. And so what they've done with that is for a lot of these firms, they've recognized that we're probably not going to compete against Electronic Arts and Microsoft. But people play games more and more within their Facebook experience, within their mobile devices. So a lot of the new companies that have come along in recent years have been targeted on those markets. We're not going to try and beat the big incumbents playing the same game that they've been playing forever. We're going to do something new, do something novel. You don't need to buy a $300 console and a $60 game. I can give you something for $1 that you can pay, and you're good to go on a device you already have. I can give you something free you can play within your Facebook or whatever other integration we can do online. And I'm going to use advertising or other revenue streams or these other ways you can generate revenues. How are people doing that within video games now? One model is I pay my $60 and I play. What else?
With the free games, they have a lot of add-ons that you can occupy.
So give me an example of a free game with an add-on. Yep.
Well, it's those games like Lego Batman. You can buy another character for 99 cents or something.
Okay. So you start with a free game, but if you start with a free game and it's a role-playing game. So you have your character and you run around and you do stuff. But if you want a different character, and maybe they're twice as big and 3 times as strong, you pay how much for that?
$1.
$1, couple of dollars. So in that way, some of the golf games, you start with a guy, but if you want him to hit it really far and be really accurate, you pay a little bit more for that. Or you just play the pace of the game and you get better over time. So it's almost like you pay a little extra to go to the front of the line in some of these games. And some people do that, some people don't. But the orientation of it is, again, they've recognized that we're not going to compete the same way, and we need to do some things different. And they've been pretty thoughtful with that. What you can also do by learning curve is find people to join you. So if you want a chief technical officer that's invented hybrid electric propulsion systems for Boeing, if you want the director of design that did the Mazda RX-8, the new Mazda 6, also was a design director for General Motors. You want the CFO for Ford of Southern Africa, which feels like a small region of the world, but is a $3 billion operation itself. If you need somebody that understands retail, and I want to have a retail presence, let me find somebody that led that at Apple and at Gap. And I want my cars to work, so let me get the lead manufacturer for Toyota, Volvo, Mack, and Renault. So which company is this? Tesla. Elon Musk knows a lot. He doesn't necessarily know design, finance, sales, and manufacturing as well as these guys do. How do you get these people to leave Apple, to leave GM, to come join you when you are but a startup?
A lot of money.
You don't have much money. So to give you a sense, these folks, I would assume probably all of them, are multi-million-dollar a year compensated people at Apple, at Toyota.
Well, with the name like Elon Musk, he already had PayPal, so
Okay.
maybe.
There's some level of confidence. If people are going to join your team, they'd like to have some measure of confidence in you. And if you've had some prior success, that's to elevate their confidence. But two, starting PayPal and starting a car company is different.
Equity.
What's equity?
Part of your company.
Part of the company. So again, we've used the term equity before, but to define it, it's a share of your company. And that's a major attractant for being able to recruit people that you might not be able to afford on dollars today. But join me for 2% of our company, and if we get to be a multi-billion-dollar company, which they have, you may have been a millionaire doing what you were doing, but you're probably more of a centimillionaire now. What's a centimillionaire? 100 million or more. What else might you get at Tesla that you're not getting at Gap or Mazda?
Well, Tesla's like creating new stuff that's gonna like help the planet.
There's an element of creation. There's an element of new. There's an element of being able to play a pivotal part in the initial executive team of launching this kind of revolution in the industry. So they care about what they're doing. Arguably all of them, based on what their resumes are, could retire now. They probably don't need to work. So there's that added element of not only my experience, but I believe in what it is that we're doing. I'm excited, I'm enthusiastic, I'm energized by what it is that we're doing. So with that, even Elon Musk, as smart as he is, technically, is smart enough to know I need a good team. I can't learn all of this stuff on my own in the limited amount of time that I need to make it happen. So let me recruit a strong team, and that's a great way of building a learning curve as well. In summary, when we look at how our learning curves connected to your specific ideas and to your specific industries, it helps you get some sense of what do you know, what do you need to know, and what types of timelines or what types of challenges you might face in getting up to speed in your knowledge on certain topics. This also may let you know what advantage you may have over others. So if you are already entering an industry that you have some knowledge of, that you have some existing advantage within, it's going to be more difficult for others to follow. And so in that way, by understanding this principle of the learning curve, it gives you some insights on how to diagnose and think about an industry, as well as to identify what strengths or what gaps you may have in being able to enter that industry from a learning perspective.